What positive change would you like to make in your life? It could be eating healthier, reading more, picking up a new language, or getting good at playing the piano. Wanting to make these changes is one thing, but actually doing them and keeping up with them can be tough. In this video, I'm going to take you through the key ideas from James Clear's bestseller, Atomic Habits. You will discover how a tiny changes can lead you to a big results. With no further delay, let me start with first key idea. Small habits can significantly influence your life. To kick things off, I want you to imagine a plane preparing to take off from Los Angeles. The plane's destination is New York City. The pilot enters all the correct information into the plane's computer, and the plane takes off heading in the right direction. But now imagine that not long after takeoff, the pilot accidentally changes the flight path slightly. He only changes it by 3.5 degrees, which is nearly nothing, just a few feet. The plane's nose shifts slightly to one side, and no one notices anything. But over the journey across the United States, the impact of this slight change would be considerable. At the end of their journey, the confused passengers, and even more confused pilot, would find themselves landing in Washington, D.C., not New York City. So, why I am telling you this? It's because, similar to the confused pilot, we often overlook small changes in our lives. These tiny adjustments seem to have no significant effect right away. For example, if you're not fit and decide to jog for 20 minutes, you won't suddenly become fit the next day. Likewise, eating a large pizza in one meal won't instantly lead to weight gain. But if we repeat these small behaviors day after day, our choices compound into major results. Eat pizza every day, and you will likely have gained considerable weight after a year. Go jogging for 20 minutes every day, and you'll eventually be leaner and fitter, even though you won't notice the change happening. You might have guessed the key point. Small habits can really change your life in big ways, even if you don't notice the changes as they happen. The effects of your habits will show up over time, not immediately. Let's say you have little money in the bank, but you are saving something each month. Your current results might not be that great. Your nest egg is still pretty small, but you can be confident that your trajectory is right. Keep going in this direction, and in a few months or a few years, you will notice a major improvement. Second, habits are learned behaviors that become automatic. When you go into a dark room, you don't even think before you reach for the light switch. This is a habit. Something you've done so many times, it just happens. Habits like this shape a lot of what we do every day, like brushing teeth or driving, showing how big of a deal they are. But how are they formed? In the 19th century, a psychologist named Edward Thorndike tried to answer this question. First, he placed some cats inside a black box. Then he timed how long it took them to escape. To start with, each cat behaved exactly as you'd expect when placed inside a box. It desperately looked for a way of escape. It sniffed and pawed at the corners. It clawed at the walls. Eventually, the cat would find a lever that, when pressed, would open a door, enabling it to escape. Thorndike then took the cats that had successfully escaped and repeated the experiment. He placed them back inside the box. And what did he find? After being put in the box a few times, each cat learned the trick. Rather than scrambling around for a minute or more, the cats went straight for the lever. After 20 or 30 attempts, the average cat could escape in just 6 seconds. Essentially, escaping the box turned into a habit for the cats. Through his experiment, Thorndike uncovered a significant principle. Actions leading to rewarding outcomes, like achieving freedom in this instance, are likely to be repeated until they become second nature. Today, we understand that habits consist of 4 key components. First is the cue or a trigger that prompts you to act. For example, entering a dark room signals you to do something to make the area visible. Next, there's a craving for a change. You want to go from dark to light. The action you take in response to this craving, like turning on the light switch, is the third part. The final piece of the habit cycle is the reward, which is the sense of relief and comfort you get from being able to see where you are. Every habit follows the same process. Do you drink coffee every morning? Waking up is your cue, triggering a craving to feel alert. Your response is to drag yourself out of bed and make a cup of joe. Your reward is feeling wide awake and ready to face the world. Third, how to create a good new habit. Let's say you're desperate to learn the guitar. You've got your instrument, you've picked up the basics, but you struggle to keep up with practice. Each morning, you tell yourself that you'll play later on, but the end of the day soon comes, and you haven't picked up your guitar once. Now that you understand how habits are formed, you can use this knowledge to your benefit. If your goal is to regularly play your guitar, make sure the cue is highly noticeable. Rather than storing your guitar in a closet or a corner, place it prominently in the center of your living room. By making your cue obvious and hard to ignore, you'll find it simpler to transform your wish to practice into a consistent habit. Changing your environment to put your cues front and center will help. But if you want to perfect your triggers even more, you can use what's known as implementation intentions. So, what are these? Most of us are not specific enough when we try to develop good habits. We often make general statements like, "I'm going to eat healthier," or "I'm going to learn the guitar," just hoping we'll stick to it. Having a plan of action, known as implementation intentions, can make a big difference. This strategy involves deciding exactly when and where you will practice the new habit you want to adopt. Instead of telling yourself that you're going to practice guitar sometime this week, tell yourself, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, when the alarm goes off, the first thing I'll do is pick up my guitar and practice for 1 hour. And don't forget to leave your guitar in the middle of the room. By creating an implementation intention, you'll give yourself both a clear plan and an obvious clue, and it may surprise you how much easier it will be to build a positive habit. Sharing all these ideas sounds promising, doesn't it? But you might wonder, does it actually work when put into action? To answer the question, let's look at the work of Anne Thorndike. Dr. Anne Thorndike faced a problem most health professionals face. She wanted to help her patients improve their diets and their snacking habits. But she also knew that making a conscious decision to eat healthier can be hard. It takes a lot of willpower and discipline, and not all of us have endless supplies of willpower and discipline. So, Anne and her colleagues designed a test. As part of the experiment, she had the hospital cafeteria rearranged. The soda in the refrigerators next to the cash registers was replaced with bottled water, and baskets of bottled water were placed all around the cafeteria. Over the next 3 months, soda sales fell by 11%, and water sales shot up by over 25%. Dr. Thorndike and her team were able to help people build better habits without forcing them to make a conscious decision to do so. Clear evidence that altering your environment can help you adopt better habits. Fourth, make your habit reward attractive. In 1954, neuroscientists James Olds and Peter Milner ran an experiment to look into the neuroscience behind desire. Using electrodes, they blocked the release of the neurotransmitter dopamine in some rats. The results were surprising. The lab rats simply lost the will to live. Without dopamine, they had no desire to eat, drink, reproduce, or do anything else. Just a few days later, they all died of thirst. This rather disturbing story tells us one thing: dopamine is a crucial motivator. When we do something beneficial for our survival, eating, drinking, having sex, dopamine is released, and we feel good. This feeling of pleasure motivates us to do the beneficial action again and again. When it comes to building habits, here's an interesting thing. You don't actually have to do something fun to feel good. Just thinking about doing something fun can make you feel happy. This is because your brain gets excited and gives you a happy feeling just from looking forward to something. We can use this to our advantage. If we make a new habit something we're excited about, we're more likely to stick with it and keep doing it. Temptation bundling is a cool trick where you mix something you know you should do, but don't really want to, with something you really enjoy. It's like using your excitement for the fun thing to help you get into a new habit. This way, you make use of that happy feeling dopamine gives you to make new habits stick. Consider the story of Ronan Byrne, an engineering student from Ireland. Ronan knew he should exercise more, but he got little enjoyment from working out. However, he did enjoy watching Netflix. So Ronan hacked an exercise bike. He connected the bike to his laptop and wrote some code that only allowed Netflix to run if he was cycling at a certain speed. By linking exercise to a behavior that he was naturally drawn to, he transformed a distasteful activity into a pleasurable one. You don't have to engineer a complex Netflix exercise bike contraption to apply this to your own life. There are easier ways to do this. For example, if you need to work out, but you want to catch up on the latest A-list gossip, you could commit to only reading magazines while at the gym. Or if you want to watch sports, but you need to make sales calls, promise yourself a half hour of ESPN after you talk to your 10th prospect. Just find a way of making those unattractive but important tasks enjoyable, and you'll be surfing a wave of dopamine and creating positive habits at the same time. Fifth, make adopting a habit as simple as possible. We tend to do easy things like scrolling on social media or eating chips because they're simple. Hard tasks, like a lot of push-ups or learning a new language, require more effort, so we don't do them as much in our free time. To make a habit stick, we should make it as easy as possible to do. And the good news is, there are various ways we can make this happen. The first way is by reducing friction. Here's what it means. James Clear has always been hopeless at sending greeting cards. His wife, though, never misses an occasion to send a card. And there's a clear reason for this. She keeps a box of greeting cards at home, pre-sorted by occasion. This little bit of preparation makes it easier to send congratulations or condolences or whatever is called for. She doesn't have to go out and buy a card when someone gets married or gets a new job, and this reduces the friction involved in sending one. Friction is a two-way process. You can reduce friction to turn a beneficial behavior into a habit, but you can also increase friction if you want to kill a bad habit. So, if you want to waste less time in front of the TV, unplug it and take the batteries out of the remote. This will introduce enough friction to ensure you only watch when you really want to. The second trick for making a habit easier in the long term is what's known as the 2-minute rule. This is a way to make any new activity feel manageable. The principle is that any behavior can be distilled into a habit that is doable within 2 minutes. So, if you want to read more, don't commit to reading one book every week. Instead, make a habit of reading 2 pages per night. Or if you want to run a marathon, commit to simply putting on your running gear every day after work. The 2-minute rule is a way to build easily achievable habits, small accomplishments that can lead you to greater things. Once you've pulled on your running shoes, you'll probably head out for a run. Once you've read 2 pages, you'll likely continue. Simply getting started is the first and most important step toward doing something. Sixth, make your habits instantly enjoyable. In the 1990s, Stephen Luby, a public health researcher, was making a big impact in a Karachi, Pakistan neighborhood. He managed to decrease diarrhea in kids by 52%, lower pneumonia by 48%, and reduce skin infections by 35%. So, what was his secret? Luby knew that hand washing and basic sanitation were essential to reducing illness. The locals understood this too, but they just weren't turning their knowledge into a habit. Everything changed when Luby worked with Procter & Gamble to introduce a premium soap into the neighborhood for free. Overnight, hand washing became a satisfying experience. The new soap lathered easily and smelled delightful. Suddenly, everyone was washing their hands because it was now a pleasing activity. Stephen Luby's story illustrates the final and most important rule for behavioral change. Habits need to be satisfying. Making good habits feel rewarding is hard because of how humans have evolved. Nowadays, we often wait a while to see the benefits of our actions, like getting paid at the end of the month or losing weight after many gym sessions. However, our brains are still wired like our ancient ancestors, who were more focused on quick results, like finding food or avoiding danger, rather than long-term goals. This focus on immediate returns can encourage bad habits. Smoking may give you lung cancer in 20 years, but in the moment, it relieves your stress and the craving for nicotine. The immediate hit from your cigarette will likely override the long-term costs to your health. All this means is that when pursuing habits with a delayed return, you need to try to attach some immediate gratification to them. I can explain this best by using the experiences of a couple the author knows. This couple wanted to eat out less, cook more, get healthier, and save money. These are goals with delayed returns. To give their objectives a little immediate return kick, they opened a savings account called Trip to Europe. Every time they avoided a meal out, they transferred $50 to the account. The short-term satisfaction of seeing $50 land in that savings account provided the immediate gratification they needed to keep them on track for the ultimate, longer-term reward. 7th, how to keep your habits on track. A great way to make habits stick and last is through habit tracking. Benjamin Franklin is a famous example. He tracked his progress on 13 virtues in a notebook starting at age 20, like avoiding useless talk and being productive. You can do something similar by marking off days on a calendar or diary whenever you stick to your habits. It's a motivating and satisfying method because the act of marking off days feels rewarding and keeps you motivated. The next thing I recommend you do is to develop a habit contract that imposes negative consequences if you fail to stay on track. Brian Harris, a Nashville entrepreneur, took his commitment to lose weight seriously by creating a contract with his wife and personal trainer. He pledged to reduce his weight to 200 pounds and outlined specific habits like monitoring his daily food intake and weekly weigh-ins. He also included financial penalties for not following through, such as paying his trainer $100 for not logging his food and owing his wife $500 for skipping weigh-ins. This approach was effective, motivated by both the fear of financial loss and the desire not to disappoint important people in his life. The presence and scrutiny of others can significantly drive our motivation, as we inherently value their opinions and accountability. A tiny change in your behavior will not transform your life overnight, but turn that behavior into a habit that you perform every day, and it absolutely can lead to big changes. That was it for this video. Thanks everyone for watching. If you found it helpful, please leave your like and subscribe to my channel.